Okay, so the time has come to address this thing, which has been hiding on the lift in the background for a bunch of videos, and hiding on the lift probably for, I don't know, 2.5 years now. Another wagon. Big surprise. This is my 2002 Lexus IS300 Sportcross. In Japan, they were known as Altezza Gita. This is the closest thing I could get to a Supra wagon, and I really like them, and I've wanted one for a very long time, so I was able to find one, and everything was trash, so I took it all apart, and I never drove it, and I paid too much for it, and we're gonna go through and talk about why it's been sitting for so long, money, and what I'm gonna do about it, and what's next. Basically, when I bought this thing, it was just needs a tune, and I didn't really disclose right away that I was a tuner. So I was like, well, can I fly out and get the car? And I was gonna just literally tune it in his driveway and then drive it home. That was not the case. So I got a trailer. I was advised that the tires wouldn't make it, which is a huge understatement. So I took a trailer out to Dayton, Ohio to pick this car up. And by the time I got out there, you know, I looked at everything and I was like, man, I'm really stupid for buying this. Full disclosure, I spent $18,000 on this car at the height of COVID, and I way overspent, and I was pretty salty about it, so the car sat for a long time. Basically, the only thing that was good was the transmission. So the car was already R154 swapped. It was already 2JZ VVTi Aristo swapped, so it was a JDM GTE VVTi. It already had the Altezza Gita lip kit on it, which is cool, bonus. It has a Euro bumper with the headlight washers, which was cool. It was a black interior car. It was relatively clean. So although Dayton, Ohio is in the Rust Belt, the car was for a huge portion of its life a Virginia car. And it came with a bunch of spares. You know, some of them were worth something, a lot of just garbage, but a lot of decent spares and stuff. It did have the factory in-dash navigation and all that stuff. So a lot of cool stuff. And it was on an AM Infinity, which was terrible, but it worked. You know, it just was terrible. So basically I trailered the car home, and I drove it off the trailer and into the shop, and I got it to run on all 6 cylinders, and it still smoked like crazy. I blocked the oil feed off the turbo, which was also bad, by the way, and it still smoked like crazy. So then I was like, okay, typical 2J needs valve seals, no problem. So then I proceeded to pull the motor because I wanted to refresh. Everything leaked, it was gross. So pulled the motor, pulled the head to just, do an on-bench clean up. I wanted to do a valve train in it, just do a valve job, whatever. And the valve seals were hard as wood, dust, which is typical for 2Js. They just always need valve seals on the exhaust side, especially. You could tell there was like gunky oil inside of the exhaust ports. So I pulled the head off, and there was vertical scoring in the cylinder walls, and it looked like the motor had eaten water for a long time. There was pitting and rust on the cylinder walls. So then basically the whole motor was trash. So then I just proceeded to do a full build. So anyway, here we are. So the engine bay is completely empty. So I got it all stripped down. Peter is going to do the engine bay paint. For a long time, I hemmed and hawed. I always wanted one of these cars in, I believe it's solar yellow, was the factory yellow color for these cars. I think they made like less than 50 wagons in yellow. I guess too, let me preface, if you're not familiar with these wagons, I think they made 3,051 in the United States ever. There were no manuals. They were a pretty limited car. I've probably only seen a couple in real life my whole life. And luckily they're local now. There's actually a couple guys who like drift them and stuff, which is cool. So yeah, it was a pretty uncommon vehicle. And then the yellow, of course, was like the rarest color. and that's what I wanted. So I had considered doing a color change to solar yellow, and then budget issues, I was like, oh, maybe not. Maybe I'll just do silver on the bay and, you know, leave it just clean up the exterior. I had a PDR guy go through. There were dents and dings and dents on the body lines all everywhere. I had a PDR guy clean it up. So I had sort of settled with the idea that, like, okay, I'm gonna just stick with silver because I'm a broke boy and that's what I'm gonna have to do. So Peter has convinced me that maybe there's an affordable way that we can get this thing to solar yellow, especially now that I have another silver wagon coming. So I don't need to have two silver wagons. So I think I want to go solar yellow on the car. So that's the plan, tentatively, solar yellow. And again, if like, I'm a huge, like, I like IS300s, but I don't know all the like color codes, and I may be saying, it may not be solar yellow, I might be saying that wrong, and like all of the IS300 homies' ears are just bleeding right now. So I apologize for that, but the yellow, and I'm probably gonna tweak it a little bit too, maybe like between that and Phoenix yellow, because I'm a Honda boy, but we'll see. I want it to be a solid yellow, no metallic. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So I've got it all stripped down. There's some areas that need to be cleaned up and stuff here. This is gross. This is gross. Zero accident car, LOL. Yeah, right. So I was told that the car was clean title, no accidents. This front corner has certainly been replaced before. So bonus for me, awesome. So then with the motor, I started getting into it and I realized that in typical me fashion, everything was trash. This is like a little dry carbon deal that I got from N1 Composites. These guys are like in the UAE, good dudes. Took a while to get, their manufacturing timelines have increased a lot. They were in Russia, and then like the whole war thing started happening or whatever. So then they had to move. So it took them a while to get set up in the UAE, but now they're good. So this is the motor. And it started out as, yeah, well, I'll just freshen it up. I'm not trying to make a lot of power. I don't want to be all crazy. We'll just get her freshened up. And then that turned into just the full me thing. So I went through and I vapor honed the cylinder head. And I vapor honed all the other components to make it all look freshy fresh. You may recognize the finish, which is very similar to Jimmy's 2J that we just did. Same guy did it, same machinist. Does a fantastic job. This is not a billet main motor. So this is an OEM main motor because I knew if I didn't create some sort of physical limitation, I was gonna go completely out of control with power. And that's not what this car is about. So this car will always be under 800 wheel, but likely always above 500 wheels. So somewhere in there, it'll have a pump gas tune. It'll also have like an E85 kill mode, but it's a wagon. The kids are gonna go in it. It's gotta be comfy. It's gonna have AC. It's gonna have all the stuff. It's got the heated seats. It's got it's gonna have a radio to play Bluey and all that stuff, that family things, you get it. If you got kids, you get it. So the motor, turned out that the head was just absolute trash, warped really bad. Not only bowed this way from overheating, but bowed this way from overheating. My machinist Mike did some magic. So we came up with a strategy to line bore the cams. Now, a lot of guys, they do line boring on cam journals and stuff like that, but the problem is this is it's a blind bore, meaning you can't put a tool through here because the back of the head is flat. So we needed to make a setup that could cut this concentrically, across all the journals after the head was made flat. So a lot of times machinists will shorten the caps and then they'll reline bore to spec. We did it a little bit different. So first of all, we got all 4 planes of the head squared up cold. We didn't try to press form it or heat it or do anything silly. We just got it back into spec. It was quite a ways out, like over 10 thousandths out. But we got it back squared up, and then because the ceiling face of the 2J is flat, you can pull your dowels for your caps and plane the top of the head as well, which is effectively the same as taking the material off the caps. Doesn't necessarily matter in this case. And the base of the journal stays in the same location. So then we built a setup to individually cut the journals based on the original concentric center line. It was actually used leftover tools from a Ferrari cylinder head job that he had done years back on a V12, and we were able to get everything back into spec. Fantastic. We did look at CCs on the combustion chambers because we took so much material off of the base that we had to do some work on combustion chamber volume changes and things between the two. But we got everything squared up, straightened up, good. I probably should have just bought a brand new head, but it was like marginally cheaper to do it this way, so that's the way I had to do it. It's a full GSC valve train package. So GSC beehive springs with GSC retainers, GSC valves, and I'm running the GSC billet S2 cams. Because of the billets, I'm going to go with a DLC coated bucket, and it is a solid lifter conversion. So I wanted to be able to spin this to 9,000, and that's the intention. So we're going to spin it to 9,000. It's like an absolute max response build, high RPM, standard 3-liter displacement. The current plan for turbo is I'm between an EFR 7670 with like a 106 AR hot side or a 8474 EFR. So pretty substantial difference in peak power, but pretty similar in transient response. But yeah, so it's like a little over 9-to-1 compression, solid lifter conversion, 9,000 RPM deal. Got a PHR oil pump, stock mains, ARP bolts in the mains, ARP bolts in the heads, ARP bolts really everywhere. And yeah, that's it. I got a baffle or a oil baffle in there, which I believe was Tomei or something. I can't remember now. I've had this motor together for about a year in preparation to put in the car, but I just need to paint the engine bay first. So yeah, that's about it. Now let's get to some bits inside the car. I also forgot to mention the piston rod combo. So yeah, it's a little over 9-to-1 compression, CP pistons. It's a, what are these rods? I think I've got, what have I got in here? No, they're Carrillos. So it's a CP Carrillo piston rod combo. So it'll be good and strong. This thing is easily, 800 horsepower, but that's it. That's, with stock main, certainly at that RPM, I'm never gonna put 800 wheel to the car. 650, something like that, but like instant hitting, strong, 650 horsepower probably. Something, I don't know, plenty. Let's get into the car. Currently on the car, you guessed it, Advans. These are RG3s. I'm sure I'm gonna have a million different wheel setups on this car, but I really just like Advans. I don't know. So here we go, Advan RGs, RG3s, 18 by 8.5 or something like that. Pretty high offset, but then I have space to suit. These cars have like a weird, not a super weird fitment, but I just really wanted to get it dialed, but not I don't want to have a stretch tire because this car is going to make so much power. So I got the blow 'em off tires, the Ricks and Raptors, but there's enough meats in there that I could actually like get somewhere. And who knows? These tires will probably be trash by the time the car's done. So then we'll just turn them into smoke and get some out. Cleaning up that area.
You want to
So the car has become a little bit of a storage unit because when Dad gets squirreling, Dad squirrels the parts away in the car, and when it's up on the lift collecting dust for 2 years, out of sight, out of mind is nice, because then you don't have to be constantly reminded with how much money you spent on stuff. You can just hide it in the storage unit. So intake manifold bits, anything that was aluminum, water neck, somebody welded some hideous extra sensor on there or whatever. So I vapor honed that. Factory upper and lower intake manifold, that's vapor honed. I will be cleaning this stuff out here to send the car to paint. But yeah, what else? We got fuel system stuff, we got headlights, we got JDM Altezza grills. We got door panels. Ooh, we got the 05. I guess this is the treasure section. We're going over the treasures. So we've got late model. I think these are 04, 05 dark chrome taillight housings. They need a polish, but they're pretty cool. These are what I would have bought. They were already on the car, so further justifying the $18,000 I paid for it. Stupid. So it also had the JDM taillight covers. I might run them, I might not. But I'll certainly have them so I can change up the style if I want. Another quick thing too. Elixir V2 wing. This is probably a replica, if I had to guess. Yeah, probably a replica. But pretty good. I think there's like a Russian guy or something who makes these. It's pretty good, but that's the wing I would have wanted. I like the version 3s too. They're a little bit longer, but I think the version 2 is a good compromise. And I think the version 3 actually was never made by Elixir. That's like somebody coined it, like the version 3 or whatever. There we go. It's like a masked Avenger. I don't know. It's a cool look. It's nice to have them. Then you can like switch them up. It's like having multiple outfits or pairs of shoes or wheels for your car, you know? Woo! Treasures. All right, we got interior panels. I mean, there's some stuff that's disgusting. If anybody's got hatch interiors and stuff like that that's clean, I really need to go through and like replace a bunch of broken, missing, trashy stuff from this car. That I just want to make it nice. Somebody cut some ridiculous access holes in the factory carpet. Come on, guys. So I need interior quarter, like trunk linings, black, please. It did come with the shade. I'm not going to dig it out of here, but you can see it. It's like the little retractable like privacy cover came with that. Very cool. Came with the original wing. Came with a manual steering wheel that does not have the Tiptronic buttons on it. I'm going to use the Tiptronic buttons for rolling anti-lag and launch control, so that'll probably be for sale. It came with an Altezza gauge cluster. It's an Altezza center tack gauge cluster. That'll be for sale eventually. But yeah, so these like Tiptronic, I'm gonna use these buttons as rolling anti-lag and launch control buttons, or arming buttons, or I don't know. Let's talk about the mods. Full radium fuel system, injector dynamics 1050s, and then for ethanol, if I need the headroom, I'll run them at 60 pounds of base pressure. Engine management, Haltech Elite 2500. We're doing a Haltech IC7 dash. We got a Mako Motorsports cluster adapter, you know, sort of the bread and butter deal. I do also have Haltech tire pressure monitor system, which is cool. So I'm going to use that data to affect boost curve. So if my pressures are up, it'll actually reduce boost duty so that I don't blow the tires off, unless that's what I want. And I'll have buttons for, you know, blow the tire off mode, or like, hey kids, keep it down back there, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, Haltech suite throughout, myriad of sensors and all the fabrications, and it's gonna be all, I wanna make it all custom. Because there's some off-the-shelf available things for these cars. I just wanna make it all. It'll just be nicer. It'll all fit real nice. I am thinking, although, I think it's Powerhouse Racing makes a 4-inch exhaust specifically for the wagon. Maybe one of their customers had a wagon or something like that. I think that's the exhaust that I'm gonna at least buy and build off of, or modify, or do whatever I need to do. Oh, transmission. Collins adapter kit adapted to a brand new inbox CDO-A. So it's basically a CDO-09 370Z transmission, 350Z transmission, but the late model, so the newest revision CDO-09. So I got one of those a while back. I mean, it's probably been sitting in a box for 2 years. So it'll be a single disc for now, but I do eventually want to do a twin disc. but I'm gonna use up, the kit came with a single disc, so I'm gonna use that up until I'm ready to put a twin disc in it. Maybe go with a OS Geiken or an Exidy or something like that. I think that's a good place to start / stop. So this car was one of those things where I lusted for it for years and years, and finally found myself able to pull the trigger on it and convince my wife that that was a good time to do that, and spent way too much money on it and drove out and way too far, sight unseen, and committed to the purchase, and you know, big surprise, everything sort of blew up in my face. So then I just parked it for a long time. Not only because I couldn't afford to do any of this stuff, but because I was like pretty pissed off and taken back, and like, you know, just like put it out of sight. But now I'm ready to dig back in. I had a lot of other projects that needed to get done. I still have a lot of other projects that need to get done that I've been neglecting for 8 years probably. I haven't driven this car in 8 years. We've never talked about it. You'll see it someday. This poor thing is probably so pissed off at me making this video right now, but just don't even. So that's the start of the IS300 Sportcross build. It's been a long time coming, so we're gonna just get after it, you know? Now I don't have any excuses anymore. So let me know what you think. Stay tuned.